Alright, so this is an old version of process we're gonna check out. Um, so right off the bat, the reason that we're looking at it is just to like sort of put things in perspective of like how a map can change. This map was adopted into ESEA in season 11, I believe, in this version, B6. And over the course of the next 4, 5 seasons, whatever, it reached process final. So, yeah, I don't believe that this map would have been able to develop the way that it did if it wasn't included in the league. So one of the cool things about ESEA is that they've honestly been like one of the first adopters of many maps, and this is one of them. I believe that ESEA was the first league ever to use this map in this version. So some changes that you might notice. Yeah, these doors are narrower, the walls are very thick, so you know, harder to move around in here, easy to get spammed out. The point has fencing all around it, so it's hard to, you know, get up to it. You gotta walk around these ramps. These pipes here, kind of a nightmare for splash. Kind of weird too, because there's like clipping on them out in the open here, where I'm like floating. Let me turn on cheats. Like, yeah, it's kind of weird. I like the idea, but eventually they just went with like a ramp. The point was also pushed further back. In this version, with the point being there, you actually have much better coverage of it from the spawn door. But in the final version, the point is further closer to this wall, so you can block some of those sight lines while on the point. Alright. So what else? Rollout's about the same. Here's a lot of the big changes. So, oh, you cannot get on this roof here. There's no rollout ramp. So the high ground and low ground are very disconnected. The flow is quite bad. The lobby has a hiding spot under here that's harder to clear out because it's like, or it's much more viable. It's like flat and all that. The deeper corner here. The lobby lower is raised. So yeah, the difference between height is not as extreme. It's a little bit more, it's a little bit easier to cover everything. Like say you're on the point, for example. Your rockets will do slightly more damage because of the height. It's an interesting thing. There's 2 walls on the point, so sightlines, you know, are closed off, but also kind of makes it much more like claustrophobic being on the point. You know, blind spam coming in, harder to spam the doorways. It's an interesting one. There's a little bit more clutter around with these like pipes extending out on both sides. You can get caught on. It's kind of a cool spot to like be able to climb up as scout, but ultimately he simplified the map and got rid of those. The forward spawn is right near the point, so it's much more powerful to hide in the spawn here and hit people that are on the point compared to the spawn that's over there where you can block some of the sightlines. IT, it's more cluttered, you know, it doesn't flow as well because you got to climb on this stuff. You know, things are a little bit different with just, yeah, the positioning of the health pack, the ramp positioning, and just the flow of it has been improved. Even though it's a subtle change, these little things are the things that people complain about all day long. So here you'll see sewer. This is the original sewer sort of design. And what it is 3 intersecting tunnels, which is really awful for combat because, you know, you don't have a lot of movement options here, especially after approaching through a shutter. So there's this tunnel, there's this tunnel, and then there's this tunnel. So 3 intersecting tunnels. Pretty awful for like combat, but it was pretty clever how he fixed sewer. He just made it a big open room and created more height advantage in here. And also this tunnel sightline was adjusted so that this is an open area and it's easier to bomb someone who's here if they peek out here. Because as it is with these tunnels, you can also put a sniper in here, and it's very hard to do anything aggressive on them. This spot is a little bit different as well. It's kind of nice. I like it, but in order to fix the other things, he had to get rid of this. And that's fine. I think he made... This is probably, like, in my memory, one of the best changes I've ever seen to a map was the new sewer. And if you ever wondered why it's called sewer, it's because of these. There actually used to be water in one version. The water extended all the way out here. There was a pool, so soldiers could use it as a water jump. And I think there might have, at some point, been water on mid. One of the craziest things on Process, in, like, the first ever version, A1, is IT right here connected to lobby, so you could bypass all of second. So, I don't know. Maps change, and being included in leagues helps a lot with that. Another thing on mid, this rail here blocks a lot of the flow. You know, just something to get caught on. And then subtle things, you know, some of the curbs and terrain was adjusted so that it was just a bit smoother and all that. But yeah, it's this is kind of like, you can tell it's Process, but at the same time, you can see a lot of obvious glaring issues. And only by being included in ESEA were we able to get that feedback and able to, yeah, make the map what it is today, which is like a staple of the competitive scene and kind of defined the new standard of what map design should be. You know, open chokes, viable flank routes, multiple viable pushing routes into last, just all these kinds of things that, like, you can't even really get started on a map without really incorporating into your maps. Yeah. And this used to be my favorite map, but now Sunshine, like, took this model and took it even further and made it even better. So that's kind of the evolution of maps. And honestly, nowadays, I even hear some people say they don't like Process, and Process is getting outdated because other maps have been building on top of it, that it's kind of moved down the ladder. Just like how Badlands used to be the best map and it moved down the ladder. That could happen kind of perpetually, you know? Where eventually this map will be considered outdated, and I welcome the change, honestly. So, yeah. And, oh, dude, check this out. Oh, I need to download the Snake Water. Wait till I show you the version of Snake Water that was played in leagues. This is gonna really blow your mind. So the first season of ESEA to feature Snakewater was season 8. This was actually before Process, because Process, I believe, came in season 11. CP Snakewater B9 was played in ESEA season 8. Get ready for this. Actually, UGC adopted Snakewater first. Here, I'll show you how I can see all this info. If you go here to comp.tf, they have a version history and inclusion history in leagues. If you scroll all the way down here to the earliest version, Snakewater B8, you can see UGC used it season 6, B9, ESEA used it season 9. And just look how early ESEA adopted this map. And it wasn't until season 15 again that the Snakewater final became a thing. So this map had 7 seasons to develop. Pretty crazy. What's another map that we play? Sunshine. Sunshine. Okay, so the final version of CP Sunshine was introduced season 23. It was first added to the league season 16. It was given 7 seasons to develop. You know, and now Sunshine's an amazing map. Let's look at, what do we want to check? Gully Wash. Gully Wash has also transformed a lot. Gully Wash, CP Gully Wash was added in ESEA season 6, and the final wasn't added until season 10. Let me download that one too. What's another custom map we use? Metalworks. Metalworks, there was season 13, RC3, and it was given, oh, they don't have the final one on here, but I assume after this, RC7, season 24. So 11 seasons Like, maps take a while to develop. They have to be given a chance. And yeah, it's pretty crazy that people are so close-minded when, like, literally every map that people enjoy playing these days started as an early custom version of a map and is now... Oh, look at this upright T. I didn't even notice. This is so narrow. And yeah, and now they're like just really good maps because they were in the leagues. They have to be played in order to improve. It's just, that's kind of the cycle that everyone's like so yeah, they're so opposed to, it seems. It's like they want all the change, but they don't want to have to go through it. They want it to be perfect from the very first version. They want everything to be handed to them. You know, it's this entitled mentality. Sometimes you gotta put in the work and the effort, and you gotta, like, let things develop, and I don't know. That's the only way things are really gonna work. And it's been proven through balance, maps, etc. So it's honestly just history. If you look at history, you'll see that that's the way it's always worked, and that's the way, you know, that we can keep doing it. Obviously, we can change things and do it differently, but, you know, people are happy with the maps, and people aren't complaining about items that they used to complain about. It's just the idea of change that scares people. It's not the actual change itself, because you can show them changes that have been made that they love, you know? So let me install these other maps. Let me install these other maps. We have CP Snakewater, B9. This one will be fun. And we also have CP Gully Wash, just CP Gully Wash. Other cool thing about looking at old versions of maps like this is that with Gully Wash, for example, you can see sort of the origin of some of the calls. Like sewer on process doesn't look like a sewer anymore, but if you look at that version, it's like, okay, looks like a sewer. Here's some Gully Wash. So here are the spawns, easier to sit in and snipe out from. No secret. Okay, water. Why is it called water? Well, you used to have to go for a bit of a dive to use this area. You could catch your breath in these little alcoves here. But actually a lot of people don't even realize that there's glass here. It's probably one of the least used things in any competitive map is the fact that there's glass here. But yeah, water leads to river. Hence why it's called river, because it leads into the pool. But you can already tell, like, the last is different because of the spawns and the water. No secret. Alright, what else? Balcony, much lower. And also much harder to peek because it's a double choke design. So the lobby is a lot more closed in and claustrophobic. Let's check out the lower main. Mostly unchanged, it looks like. These doorways look like they were thinned out, maybe. Maybe not as, you know, doubled up. Because just that little bit of this door being that extra wide makes it kind of like a mini tunnel in a way, harder to get through. So it's probably better that these are thinner. Big door, it's got some like different clipping there to make it a bit more narrow, easier to sticky trap. Alright, second point, there's like an extra mound here. Just the aesthetics are completely different around the rock. There was a ladder. The ladder I remember being so like controversial because you could get stuck on it like this, and for whatever reason when people see a ladder they think you should be able to climb it. So it just confused a lot of players that spent their days doing this. They thought one day they'd grab a hold of it and climb, but they never did. No drop down. So picture this. This map literally only has two ways to go. There's only two doors. There's nothing else. One door here and one door at choke. Like, I even think that Gully Wash right now with the drop down is like kind of odd in that regard, where there's only the two options. But at least with a drop down for offense, you get another option, and maybe you could catch someone going up the drop down, and on mids, drop down plays a lot into like roamer play and all that. I even think the drop down could be expanded more in the final version. I think a stairwell that goes down could be interesting, just because then it could be much more viable to use that in as a two-way thing rather than just a one-way, but that's irrelevant. Maybe Gully Wash, you know, in this design, seeing that this is just so intrinsic to the map design, maybe Gully Wash is an outdated map that's also, you know, moving down that ladder of maps in terms of modernity. So then we have mid. There's this extra mound here as well you could use to jump up. The point looks much shorter. There's like all these like little just like lips you can get caught on. The point isn't flat either. It's like, yeah, it's different height advantages. I don't know. You can see this map has changed a lot. And it's definitely been for the better, but the first version wasn't the final version, you know? It was given the chance to change, given the chance to evolve based on feedback and being included in the leagues. That's how it goes. Check out up top here. Look at this. You know, just this extra clutter has all been cleaned up. Where's the health pack? Health pack's up here. You know, lower ceilings, all this stuff. Like, it's all been improved because it was in the league and because it was given the feedback that it needed to breathe and to evolve, you know? So let's also check out CP Snakewater. And I think after we see Snakewater, you know, the points will be proven. There will be no doubts. So in Snakewater, okay, the spawn is much different. You come out of the spawn so much closer to the point. So much easier to kite into spawn and to contest. You know, different structure here, but essentially the same sort of idea. But a much more powerful position up here, it would appear. It looks like it's perhaps taller. And with a little bit more cover, easier to rotate because of the ramps. All that kind of stuff. Alright. What else? No wall up there, so sniper sightlines completely open from this angle. This wall is interesting, it blocks the shutter. That actually could be something that would be nice in, like the modern Snakewater, to be honest. But you already have the crate and this wall that sort of do the job. Another interesting thing is that this is at a different angle in the final Snakewater, which actually allows you to peek it at like this angle instead of head on. Whereas in this one you can't really do the same thing because you'd have to come all the way through in order to look in that direction. So lobby was expanded. One thing you'll notice also, drop down. Drop down in this version does not connect to lobby. Drop down is this huge spiraling narrow tunnel. It goes all the way out to second. You know, obviously inspired by Granary. A drop down out of last. It's interesting, but a big problem in terms of backcapping because you'd have to clear every single corner of that in order to push out. There were occasionally some fun plays where people would like come out the drop down and flank people, but for the most part it caused problems. Crate here, okay. Lower, mostly unchanged. And then lobby, look at this. This door is so small and it's at this 90-degree angle. So there's like pretty much no opportunity to peek or, you know, you couldn't ever jump through that door. It's just too narrow. You'd get stuffed. People could stand like more aggressively here and like bait you in. You wouldn't really be able to fight them very well. This is also not widened out, so all just kind of narrow through here. And yeah, you lose the ability to like peek and sort of get people in and flood, all that kind of stuff. So I like the 90-degree thing isn't too bad because it does help with sightlines, but the size of the doorway certainly. Imagine trying to push your whole team top left like you do in modern Snakewater through this door. You'd just get shut down. But it is kind of cool to see that like the general layout of the lobby hasn't changed. You know, you can tell when there's potential in a map, but it's just like the little things that need to change. And you know, we've all seen these maps change. So bats, mostly the same. Obviously you have the drop down. Second point, okay. Let's see. It's mostly the same. The wall was made bigger. Look at Z. He's really easy to get up through there. A lot more cover around here. So again, like a lot harder to peek. I think that that's like an old school mapping thing, is just like the maps were a lot more, I don't know, they were blocked off and they weren't as open, but thankfully this map was able to evolve. This is a tunnel. You know, we're used to the more open skybox on this. Pillars, 2 of them. I missed one of them, but you know, at least we kept one. On this one, I think you could stand on these. Yeah, you could. People didn't quite like this. But, oh, also look at this. This is at a 90 degree. That's interesting. But it's actually more head-on with mid. So by making it on this face, it actually forced people to have to peek more aggressively instead of the passive hold, which would be more effective from this angle. So that was actually a nice change there. Catwalk is a little bit, you know, more clunky because you can get caught on all this, and it's on this little shed, and your head gets hit on these roofs. Still jump up here. That's good. Roof, mostly the same. Mid, different here. You can see through these walls in this version. Kitchen, mostly the same. Oh yeah, over here, this is different. Again, low ceiling and a pillar here, which just, I don't know. Again, I like pillars, but I could see this being a good justification to remove because it's another sticky trap spot on a common choke kind of thing. So yeah, I don't know. This map was played in ESEA. I doubt anyone would agree to play this now. Oh, I didn't even check out this. Look at these sight lines. Much more open on this version because of the wall. These chokes are much more connected, and it's more open. It's interesting. I kind of like this, but I think the change was good because it allowed the spam to be split, so you could fake out different doorways a little bit better. And it also broke some of the sight lines here, like this one, for example, from yard into mid. You demand snakes. Oh yeah, and I think the snakes are here in this version. Wait. No snakes. There's water. I don't see snakes. Wait, are they outside the water? I think they might have been added in a later version. Let me check the other side. I actually remember, I think that being like a patch note. Like added snakes. There used to be snakes crawling around out here. This version does not have them. I'm still really curious how the name came up. I honestly think that it was like a translation or something, because I'm pretty sure the guy who made this map is like Finnish. So, I don't know. Maybe it's a thing in like a different language or something, but who knows. Someone asked about forward spawns? Forward spawns. Oh, right. I think the forward spawn was in a completely different spot on mid. Was it in kitchen? Yeah, it was in kitchen. So this spawn was, it's in kitchen. It's much closer. That was a really common problem on Snakewater, was that it was just too hard to push out a last because people could contest from the spawn. It's just so close from kitchen, and even just that little bit of distance pushing it back towards saw really helped with pushing out a last. But yeah, much different map now than it was back then, and it's for the better. But again, because it was given a chance and it was allowed to evolve, and that's what we should be doing with all the other maps. It's just the way things go. So hopefully that was insightful for you guys and maybe gave you a new perspective on, you know, maps and their inclusion in the leagues, and the importance of including maps in leagues, and the importance of good feedback and playtesting on maps, because a map can go a long way, and I think maps are actually one of the most important things to define the meta, and yeah, to influence the way that the game plays, and you know, give new teams opportunities to play to their styles and all that kind of stuff. So I love new maps, and I support map creators, and you guys should too. And just, yeah, please be open-minded about maps when it comes to leagues. That's all I ask.